You're listening to How to Blow Up Your Life, a podcast about the courage, clarity, and chaos of beginning again. I'm Sara Stansberry, writer, coach, and guide for women reclaiming their truth. Let's begin. Hey guys, before we dive into this week's episode, I need to give you a little bit of a content warning. This episode contains information about sexual trauma, childhood sexual abuse, coercion, grooming, repression, and how all of that impacts our relationships and our nervous system and our lives. And so if you are a survivor, I ask you to please listen with care and at your own pace. And remember, you are always welcome to pause or skip, return, whatever you need, whatever feels right for you. Now, if you or someone you know is experiencing sexual violence or assault, I encourage you to call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-4673. This organization provides wonderful emotional support, advice, and crisis intervention. Okay, now here we go. Hey, everybody, and welcome to How to Blow Up Your Life. Today, we have a very special guest with us. It's April Daniels. April is an author and a survivor, and we're going to be talking about a sensitive subject today, which is that of sexual trauma. April has written a book called Paper Dolls and Cowboy Boots. She re-released it recently, and she does all kinds of things to help survivors heal from this kind of trauma. And April, I just can't thank you enough for being here with us today.
Thank you.
I know we're going to talk a little bit specifically about sexual trauma and how it impacts your relationships, especially the one that we have with ourselves.
Yes.
And I'm curious, can you give us a little bit of a background of like how you came to write the book? And don't have to give us any details, but just a little bit about your story.
I'm in my 60s now, but when I was in my 30s, late 20s, early 30s, my parents were just raging alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
But the catch here is we're LDS, we're Mormon.
Okay.
And so no one knew. And so we had a thriving business, family business, and it was all hidden because of Mormon stuff and professional stuff. And then alcoholics hide. So I found out that my entire life, my parents were alcoholics. And so I grew up, A+ codependent parenting my parents.
Yeah.
Finally, in my late 20s, I got my mom, and literally, I have to say, I got my mom. I literally busted into their bedroom in their home, picked my mother up, and we didn't have cell phones back then. And so I put her in the car. I drove to a 7-Eleven, got to a payphone, and called the psychiatrist in our neighborhood in Mormon terms ward and said, "Hi, I've got my mom in the car. Is there a Betty Ford place around?" I mean, I did not, And the psychiatrist that was in our ward was just like, "Wait, your mom's an alcoholic?" So we got her in to get her detoxed and rehab. And in those family meetings, I found out that adult children of alcoholics typically marry alcoholics.
They do.
Bricks.
Yeah.
Because...
Or other addicts. Yeah.
Yeah. I was dating, in my mind, it was the love of my life. But he drank a 12-pack of beer every single night. And, it was Utah, near beer, He was a big rugby player, everything. And he justified it. And I did everything I was supposed to do, pick up his keys or drive when I needed to do, or, I just was automatic. This felt so familiar, family.
Yeah.
And so after that family meeting, I went home and I broke up with him because who wants to keep living that?
Right. Break the patterns, right? Nobody wants to keep perpetuating these.
I was just like, no, I am not continuing this life,
Yeah.
I called the rehab center and I said, okay, I've got a problem. I need therapy for myself. And I couldn't go there because my mother was in there.
Right.
And so she got me with a therapist. And so I got individual therapy for 3 years.
For codependency.
Yes.
Recovery. Right.
And my mom and my dad both started the AA journey. And they were instrumental in helping the LDS Church get a 12-step program in the LDS Church, which was huge. My mom relapsed once and then was, she was sober for 27 years. I mean, it was really...
It's an accomplishment. Yeah.
Quite remarkable. So they're doing their healing. I'm doing my healing. And then my therapist's name was Karen Fisher. And she said, April, you're doing absolutely wonderful. There's just one more thing I want you to check out. And so she had me read this book called My Father's House. And I couldn't finish it. I was so mad at her. Because
what about it? Yeah, what about it?
It was about a woman who was an incest survivor in her father's house. And it triggered me. I mean, I was at our family business in our office, and I felt like I was 4 years old walking around. And my therapist was out of town, and I got a hold of her. She was in California somewhere. And she flew home early, and she started, that's how devoted. She said, I was always suspicious because anytime she'd ask me about my childhood, I couldn't remember. And I'd divert it and start talking about my parents.
Okay.
And she'd go, well, what about, elementary school? What about hopscotch? What about, and I just look at her. I know I have all these things, memorabilia from school, but I didn't remember any of it. Nothing, blank. So she said I was always suspicious.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, I started having therapy every single day. And I was, at that stage, a fairly high-powered executive.
Okay.
We were in banking, and I had a 450 SL Mercedes. I made all this money by the time I was 30, and I had this little checklist of all the things I wanted to achieve in my life and all that. And I, boom, 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 I could just, I just did it. And I felt apart. I just felt like a shallow, fake... Imposter syndrome is not even the word. It is, I didn't even know who I was. Your slogan about blow up your life. Yeah. It was more like my life was totally destroyed. The fragile reality I had created was devastated. But through painstaking, just really, really, it was an opportunity to rebuild my life. Piece by piece by piece. And it took every day for 6 months, and then 3 times a week, and then 2 times a week, and then once a week. And then finally, we had a family meeting. And in my family, every single one of us were part of the family business. So it was all, everybody knew what I was going through. My brothers, my sister, everybody knew. Okay. So your family was well aware that you were having... going through. Did they know exactly what was going on, that you had... Because you essentially had repressed memories. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. When I was at work, and then, I got triggered really bad in October 1989. By December, I had told both my siblings what was going on. And my brother remembered. He never forgot. And so I would talk to him periodically, and then he got more, I can't talk to you about this. You just keep healing. He was really touching on. My sister was just a shell kind of person, not anything. My parents, I did not tell. So then, so it took 1.5 years. We had a family meeting, and every single person was invited. What we did was we sat down and we said, I appreciate you, I resent you, and I forgive you. We could say it to each other. We're face off with each other. And it was so powerful because I could sit down across from my brother, from my mother, and they said things back to me, And Karen was there for me to support me. And then she had another guy there named William to conduct the whole thing. And it was 3 full days. And my brother particularly was sitting there crying, going, thank you for championing the family healing process and all this stuff. And then just a little side note, my dad was peeling around the parking lot. We were like, I wonder if he's going to run out of gas. Anyway, he didn't deal with any of it. He wouldn't speak to me for 6 years after that.
There's so much to ask.
I know.
Well, first of all, I want to just bring this up for the listeners in case they don't know. But oftentimes when there's this kind of trauma that's occurred in childhood, the child represses the memory.
Yes.
And that, I understand this from personal experience. I too went into codependency recovery. And as I was doing that, all these memories started coming up of this kind of abuse and trauma. And they had been dormant. If you had asked me, I wouldn't have said that, oh yes, this happened and I just don't want to talk about it. I legitimately did not know. And like you said, that when you cut one part of you off like that, the other parts then follow. So then you, not only did you not have a memory of the event or events that were traumatic, you did not have a memory of anything.
No.
Of times on the play yard, of times on the whatever. So, so it really, it's, you're repressing, but you're not only repressing those memories. There are other things that you're not remembering as well. So I just want to bring that around for the readers not the readers, the listeners, sorry. Not my Substack that you read, this one that you listen to.
Yeah.
Just so that they understand in case they don't. So I'm really curious, what led you to then write the book? I mean, I'm going to hold it up here for people. Like it's called Paper Dolls and Cowboy Boots. And the original, this is a re-release, right?
Yes.
This is a re-release. The original was called Paper Dolls, Healing from Sexual Abuse in Mormon Neighborhoods and the True Events of the Subsequent Decades. Whew. That's something. It is something. And so tell me a little bit about what led you to write the book and what leads you to do the work that you do.
So prior to the family meeting, when I was in therapy daily, 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week with Karen, I wrote. Always written. Always. I've always journaled. I've always written. As long as I can remember, which pre-memories here, I didn't remember a lot, but I always remember writing. And so what I did was I would write when I was in therapy. And then a lot of times I would walk in and just hand Karen my journal. And she would sit there for about 20 minutes during our sessions and read.
Wow.
And then we'd deal with everything that came up. So family meeting was so successful, for lack of a better term.
So what happens too, just so everyone is aware, like when these memories come up, your life does implode. That's kind of what you alluded to, right? Your life implodes, because everything that you thought was true and real, all of a sudden gets shaken. It's kind of like having the rug pulled out from underneath you a little bit, and you're a little bit lost, wondering, what do I do now? Like, what do I do now? It's a short phase, but you do go through a phase of just needing a lot of support right in the beginning. It's a little bit of a crisis healing.
It was a crisis for me. Yes.
Yeah. I can relate to that. And so during that time of your healing, right, that's when you were doing the writing.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing that was so bizarre for me, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but when I stuffed the memories, I stuffed the feelings that went with it.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Here I am, a 30-year-old woman, this so-called rainmaker in this financial business, feeling like I'm 4 years old. And I would have to leave my office and go into the restroom and wash my face and look at myself and go, there you are. You're an adult. You're okay. Because I felt like I was that little kid again. It was the most bizarre thing that I've ever, well, no, the abuse itself was the most bizarre, but dealing with it was secondary.
Yeah.
The hardest things. I know this sounds horrible, and I'm saying this to all the survivors out there, but here I am, this high-powered executive. Before I remembered and dealt with all this, I could not send a fax. I would walk out of my office and I would go to the secretaries and I would have them send a fax. And you know how easy it is? I do now. But I swear to you, I couldn't. And
get a block.
Yeah. And I would hear the secretaries like laughing at me.
Right. Because she can dial a phone, but she can't send this fax.
They would say stuff like that. Like, oh, here she is, the big rainmaker, the big deal around this whole financial institution. She can't even send a fax. They'd make fun, and I'd be just like, I can't.
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
And you weren't being lazy or entitled or anything like that. You were just like, I can't figure out this fax machine.
It was too confusing. I was really, trying to make money.
Right.
And so here, you send it. Let me do this deal.
Right.
Was kind of my thought. So I'm skipping a little bit, but this was really significant to me. After the memories, after the book came out, everything, I entered a contest for Microsoft. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'll enter this, da-da-da-da-da. And I won it.
Okay.
And they named me one of the top 6 web developers in the world.
Wow.
And so I literally could not send a fax. And then all this technological programming, all this stuff just was freed up for me.
Wow.
So please don't be afraid to deal with this, because you might, I'm not saying you'll do exactly what I did, but you will release so many other areas of your life that you don't even know are there. So don't be afraid.
Isn't that interesting? I think I had a similar experience.
Did you?
With writing. Yeah. I mean, even though I was a relatively good writer, I had moments where like I couldn't, what I wrote didn't make any sense. And once I started healing, these emotional parts of me, all of a sudden my writing began flowing in a way that just couldn't before. It was like stopped up. Like I would write something and it'd be like, this doesn't make any sense, or it's not that good. And that doesn't happen that much anymore. It's not really happening. So you close down a part of yourself, but in that you close down an emotional part, a wound. And in that you close down a complete part of yourself.
Right.
That you went on to win awards afterwards. That's just incredible.
I do want to go back really quick and say about the writing. So we finished the family meeting, and to the listeners, sorry, it's a little jumpy.
It's okay.
And then Karen Fisher sat down with me and she said, April, your writings and your poetry and your lyrics and everything show the healing process from A to Z, from beginning to end. It's a little jarring, just like how I just relayed this to you.
Yes.
And so I would like to write the in-between sessions, and then let's package it up and give it as a gift to other survivors. It will help them know they aren't alone.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to do it, because my writings were so private.
Right.
But she had done so much for me, and that family meeting was so amazing that I agreed. We get them all together, and then I go into her office 3 months later, and I hand them to her, and she said, well, I got to tell you, I have cancer. So I'm not going to be able to write my part. But what I would like you to do is approach your friend's mother, who was this phenomenal therapist, da, 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 da. Long story short, I approached this other woman, Carol Scott, and she agreed to write the portions that Karen was going to.
Okay.
And not only did she agree to do that, but she wanted to tell her story.
Okay.
Because her grandchildren were sexually abused by one of my perpetrators. And that's how our two stories.
And let's talk about that for a little bit, because I know that that's a really big reason for why you do what you do. Can you give a little bit of a history of, and like who you dedicated the new book to?
I had several perpetrators. They were mostly teenage boys in Mormon neighborhoods. And 3 of them that I know of now went on to commit extremely egregious, horrible crimes. One was Hank, who married my co-author's daughter and went ahead and annihilated his children, my co-author's grandchildren. And my co-author was a fantastic therapist, wonderful person. And she went through a big head trip because she was like, wait a sec,
how did I not see this?
I'm seeing my work at home. What is going on? Anyway, they were being abused. So that is her side of the story, and that's how we go. Then in 2001, I found out that David Fuller, that is his real name. My mother called up and said, "Oh, did you see David Fuller's dead?" And I was just like, too bad, so sad. I mean, I was so proud of myself that I was so clean with my emotions with him. And then a couple of weeks later, she called up and said, I found out how David Fuller died. And she read me this news article from San Diego where David Fuller had flown to Arkansas. He abducted, savagely raped, and as the SWAT team was coming in, murdered Casey Woody and then shot himself. And from what I understand, in Arkansas, that was just as big of a story for poor Casey Woody as it was for Elizabeth Smart. Okay. So Elizabeth was found 3 months later. And a lot of people thought that David Fuller might have abducted Elizabeth Smart. But it turns out he didn't. It was yet another one of the boys from that neighborhood. And Brian David Mitchell and David Fuller were friends in high school. And I had an opportunity of connecting with Elizabeth a few years ago, and we talked about it. I said, do you think that when you got taken to San Diego that Brian David Mitchell and David Fuller connected? And she said, I don't know. He left us up in the hills for 2 weeks. And that was the exact same time period that David Fuller took it upon himself to fly to Arkansas. So we don't know if they connected. Elizabeth doesn't know. I don't know. Anyway, Brian David Mitchell, Hank, and David Fuller all abused me, and they went on to commit more egregious crimes. And that is why I re-released the book.
Okay.
Because I wish I could done more.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, if people would have believed me more, maybe Casey Woody would still be alive.
Yeah.
And so I dedicated the re-release to Casey Woody and Elizabeth.
Wow.
Just because I still feel bad. I know it's not my fault. I know her perpetrators and Elizabeth's perpetrator are the ones that did it. But I still feel bad. I wish I could have done more.
Sure.
So.
Wow. That is heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking story all around. And for people who may not know, these patterns do perpetuate. It's what I learned in my healing. And my perpetrator, and they perpetuate in families too. Just like you said that, Hank went on to abuse his daughters.
Yeah.
Just so everyone's clear, my perpetrator was not a family member. It was somebody, a friend of the family. But I do know that it's a pattern that goes on, and usually not an isolated incident.
Yeah.
I applaud you and your bravery for what you do. I know that you not only, have you released this book, but I know you help therapists. I know you help all kinds of groups of people by sharing your story. And hopefully by sharing your story here, you're going to help people as well. So I want to talk a little bit about how this kind of trauma impacted you.
Okay.
I know you talked about the facts story.
Yeah, it's just minor.
Which is cute and fun. It's cute and fun. It's easy to understand. But this kind of trauma is a little bit different than other kinds of trauma in that, I had a therapist explain to me that sexual trauma is the only crime where the victim walks away ashamed and the perpetrator walks away justified.
Spot on. That's so true.
And that it is true, isn't it?
Yes.
And then she went on to say, like, if somebody broke into your house and robbed you of your, belongings, you wouldn't be mad that you had a house. Right. Oh, I shouldn't have had a house. If I just hadn't had a house,
yeah,
maybe I wouldn't have gotten robbed. That's not the way we think.
Yeah.
That's not the way we think.
Yeah.
It is true that the perpetrator does walk away feeling justified for whatever reason. And the kind of trauma that this inflicts on a person really does carry over into all aspects of their lives. And so, I think about, first of all, a lot of people, sexual trauma can be a lot of different things besides the thing that you think it is.
Oh, absolutely.
The thing that a lot of people don't know is most people do know they're perpetrators.
Oh, yes.
Most do. And, yours were in your neighborhood. In the Mormon church, the neighborhoods are a little bit different, right? Like, from my understanding.
Yes.
The communities.
At least back then. It's like part of the tribe.
It's your whole life.
You bet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
It's
yes.
way more than just a neighborhood. It's your community, your extended family, you go to church with these people, you go to school with these people, you do everything.
And they're good.
Yeah.
They're good and they're safe. We trust all these people.
Yeah. So it's a little bit even different than just random people in the neighborhood, what you would think of now.
Right.
Because they were extension of your family, of your community.
Yes.
Your faith family, for sure. So I think about, what is it? Like, it's more, like I said before, it's more than what you think it is. It can be more than what you think it is. And I think we kind of came to the conclusion that it's really anything where you kind of get this flinch inside, like, and you're coerced to do something or say something, but you're feeling like, God, this isn't what I want to do, but I feel like I have to.
Yes.
For whatever reason. And it's not really about sex either. It's about power.
Exactly.
And vulnerability.
Yes.
And so I think that when somebody is overpowering you in that way, and it can also start with some psychological stuff as well.
Yes.
In order to groom the victim, so to speak. And I think that we talked about just there are all kinds of ways that somebody can be violated in this way. It can even be, things that they're shown, like maybe nobody touches them or what have you, but things that they're shown or they're exposed to.
Or told. Yes.
Or told.
Yes.
Are abusive. Absolutely. And can be traumatic. I want to talk a little bit about how you think this incident, and I know it was a series of incidents, but this season in your life, how do you think it impacted your relationships until you had discovered it and had healed from it? Like, what were your relationships like back then versus what they're like now?
Oh, back then, I thought they were great. Seriously, because
Got it.
it was all fun and adventure and travel and skiing and boating. And I just didn't get, I mean, I would have guys say, come on, let's talk. I'd be, okay, let's talk. Where do you want to go skiing next week? Literally, I've said that. No, I just couldn't go deeper. Or I could talk about books. I could try and get into feelings via the books or intellectualism, but not about what's inside of me. Never. And I had one man who I'm still dear friends with. And he said it was like I had a bubble in front of me.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't get, he wanted to get to know me.
Yeah.
Not all the stuff I was doing and how fun I was. And, you know, he wanted to know how I felt. And they'd be like, I feel great when we're out water skiing, or, you know.
Yeah.
And most guys really like fun, you know.
Right. That's true.
So I was a fun date. But boy,
okay.
I had to get into feelings and deeper, and I was vapid. I'm pretty smart, you know. At least now,
Clearly.
you know, I'm pretty smart.
Clearly.
But back then, I was just a human. It was a John Bradshaw quote. He was the Brene Brown of the 90s. You know?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he said, don't be a human doing, be a human being. And I didn't even understand that when I first heard that. I was just, aren't we what we do?
Isn't that, okay. Yeah. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
If you take that, right, aren't we what we do?
Yeah.
And I mean, first of all, so many of us live that way, but I do believe that people who've experienced sexual trauma really live that way, because a trauma like that really, it cuts you off from yourself.
Totally. For me.
Yeah. And for me too. It cuts you off because it really steals part of your humanity.
It really, really, it like slaughters your soul. It felt like that to me. It really did.
And the shame that's associated with it is because you feel you're trying to make sense of it. So it's like there's so much shame, like, oh, I did, like, what did I do? I did something terrible. I'm a terrible person.
It's my fault.
It's my fault. For me, you know, as I don't know if I felt this way as a child because I'm, you know, not sure. But as I was doing the healing work, I realized I was so mad at myself that I could be so vulnerable.
I was too.
I was so angry. I just hated that about myself.
Yeah.
And I went for a while with that, like, and the thing about it is it was there. It was there the whole time. It's just that I became aware of it. Well, when I became aware of it, you know, then I really had to struggle with accepting my humanity.
Yeah.
In the day of social media, and now that our children have access to so much stuff, and it's just, we all have access to so much. You know, one of the things that this kind of trauma does is it takes you, the victim, from being a person to being an object.
Yes.
An object, and then for somebody else's like satisfaction and domination.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's really important that when we're talking about this, you know, we're understanding that that's really what this is about. And, you know, I grew up in the 80s, so the whole like objectification of women was like coming around in the 90s, like in the magazines of the 80s and whatnot. So I feel like we're getting better about that as a society, but it does still happen, and it happens in more covert ways, I would say.
I agree.
than overt ways, but it's still happening. And, anytime that you're reducing a person to what they can do for you is not a good thing.
No, it is not a good thing at all.
It's not a good thing. So
No,
I just want to...
Healthy.
Very unhealthy.
Yes.
Very unhealthy. So yeah, I wanted to make that point because I think a lot of people who may not have had the background in this may not understand like how it really deeply affects others. Okay, so I want to know what your relationships are like now. Let's talk about the good stuff. Yeah.
So first, relationship with myself.
Yeah. Oh.
Is I still am insecure. I am. I think that is just part of it. But at least I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
And I try not to lead with it, but I'm aware of it. Because, who wants to interact with a sniveling person all the time? I still really like to have fun. But I do have to take time to myself to regroup before I go out and have fun with groups of people. I have to check in with myself frequently and make sure I'm okay with myself. And I have at least six really, really great friends who've been with me since childhood. And I check in with them. I'm like, okay, is this old stuff or am I making a big deal out of nothing?
Right. Yep. Yeah, sure.
And sometimes they're like, just chill. You're just making a big deal out of nothing. Or sometimes it's like, no, this is something.
That's hitting something. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just check in with things like that. I have one tiny example for that. Okay. So I live in, it's not New York, but I live in a place called the Avenues. And the houses are really super close.
Okay.
And last year, my neighbor was doing a whole bunch of work in his front yard, and his contractors plugged their power into my power.
Huh.
Notice how I phrased that.
Interesting.
I was so upset. And I was like, they plugged into my power. Think about that.
Yeah.
And I called my friend Laurel in St. George, and she said, did you hear how you said that?
Yeah, trigger. Yeah.
They didn't accidentally plug into you. I was like assaulted because they plugged into my power.
My power. You don't do that.
So anyway, I went out and said, could you at least ask? You use my power, but could you at least ask? So that's what it was. But it really triggered me that they had plugged into my power.
Yeah, it's a boundary violation, right? And that's what this is. I think.
Yeah, just a few cents. Maybe a few bucks, but still.
Yeah, it still is because it's yours, and they used it without your permission. So
right.
Yeah, I can see where that would be triggering.
It was for me, and it was last year it happened.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but I got it all solved. But I did have to check in with Laurel. Long call. Hey.
Yeah.
They plugged into my power. What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do? I in my work, I talk a lot about how you just really need one person to show you what to do, like the right thing to do. I've had that one person in various seasons of my life, and it helps so much just to have that, like, this is happening. What do I do? How do I respond? What should I do here? When you're a little bit lost. I love that you have that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So awesome. I have quite a few exterior friends. And then I have some very close, those like that. You can come up on a silly little plug issue, And then I have just a couple of incredibly intimate friends. And then I have one partner. And he's wonderful. So doesn't want anything to do with any of this. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. So how is that relationship for you? Do you feel like you still have that bubble?
A little bit, but at least it's talked about, and I get to have space, And it doesn't have to be perfect all the time, but show the majority of the time. My rules for myself are try not to project your insecurities on anyone else, and try not to see something that's really not there. Because there's times that I just make up stuff, and that isn't what he's thinking at all.
Oh, right. With your partner. Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
welcome.
So no projection, just be in tune with yourself, meaning April, be in tune with yourself. And then Karen Fisher told me, she said, I think, and she was such a great therapist. I mean, she said, I think relationships are like two people with big, huge gunny sacks on their back. And they've got all their stuff. And they meet, and they sit down and they start taking out their stuff. And they take out the really cool, shiny, wonderful stuff at first. But if you stay together enough and you're brave enough, then you start taking out oh yeah, I was sexually abused. Oh, you start bringing out the stuff and then talk about it.
Yeah.
And one of my things is, you know what? I don't care if you drink, but boy, if you're an alcoholic, either we're going to end this or you got to go to AA. No, if you can't take or leave alcohol, take or leave it, then to me, that's an indicator. We need to talk about that. But if you can pass, no big deal, then I'm okay with it. That's kind of my little red flag.
Well, different subject really, but really, I mean, I think you really cannot be in a healthy relationship with an active addict. It's just not possible.
You can't.
So unless but you're healed enough to know, I don't want that for my life. I want something different from my life, So that brings me to, you have really, not only is this really important work that you do, you have this life that you've built for yourself that you write a Substack about.
Well, one of the things that I try to say to other survivors, and this is kind of my little cliche, is if I can do it, anyone can. Seriously, there's not one miraculous thing about me. I am your everyday person. So trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. And then what happened with me is I kind of got tired of writing about sexual abuse all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I felt like it kind of robbed me of the first 30 years of my life. And I don't want that to be my essence.
Right.
But then when Casey Woody was murdered and Elizabeth was kidnapped, it felt like, okay, I'm just about the only one right now that can talk about how this keeps going on. Look, it's happened. I wrote a book about this in the 90s. And then, so I felt like, all right, universe or God or whoever you want. It was like a message to me, like, you have a great life. Now you've got to step back and contribute a little bit more to help this from stopping. Yeah. So I do write about sexual abuse, particularly the ongoing trails. But my main message is to other survivors, because that's the only thing I am. I can't take on perpetrators. I can't take on institutions that might cover it up. I can't do any of that. I can just give a message to survivors of, if I can do it, you can do it. And you can create your own uniquely beautiful life and share snippets of mine. And it doesn't mean that they have to have, seriously, you do not have to ski. I happen to enjoy it. But if you want to paint or, do whatever you want to do, do that.
Yeah.
As long as it's not illegal, obscene, you're a drug addict.
Harming somebody else. Sure.
Yes. Build your own beautiful, healthy life. You can do it.
Yeah.
So that's my message.
What do you think about, like, how much time do you think it took for you? Like, how did you get to where you are now?
I really thought that after the book came out, I was healed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I did. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a lot. And so I had 3 years of codependent therapy. And then I had 3 solid years of dealing with sexual abuse. So that's 6 years total. Mm-hmm. And when it came out, the book was published in Salt Lake, and I walked to a local bookstore and I bought a copy. And I walked home and I put it on the shelf because to me, I knew it would still be there, but it wasn't going to be the dominant part of my life.
Yeah.
And so that was very symbolic for me, and then it really wasn't until Casey Whitty was murdered that I was like, okay, I have to enter this scene again.
Yeah.
I need to step in again because it seemed like no one else is doing it, but I didn't want to. So anyway, about 3 years, but don't be afraid of it. It's freeing, for lack of a better term.
It is freeing.
Yeah.
It is freeing. Anytime you can. I feel like you said to me one time that it was like a whole world was lifted off your shoulders. Yes. Like it was hard to experience the memories, but it was at the same time, you were like, finally, I can be like this thing that's been this unspoken, unknown thing is gone.
The world is my platter almost, I can decide what I want to do and pursue it. And if that works, great. And if it doesn't, okay, no problem. No issue with it. It's just fun.
It seems like you are filled with joy.
I am. Right? I am. But with that said, I am not Pollyanna. I get it. Life is hard.
Yeah, you get it.
I do. I get it. Life is hard. But you know what? To me, I've been through the hardest thing so that I kind of know that nothing else will be as hard. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who went skydiving at 50 years old. Mm-hmm. It was one of my friends right down the street. And his wife said, I'm scared to go. So will you go with him? I was like, sure, I'll go. And he videotaped it. And the wife said, I can't believe how you were just like laughing. And she goes, everyone else looked really terrified. And and she said, how did that happen? And I said, do you want to know honestly, or do you want the flippant answer? But I want the honest answer. And I said, I've been through a much, much, much harder thing. So even if that was a little bit scary, I knew the odds were in my favor and it would be fine. And it was really fun, So.
Nice. April, thank you.
Sure thing.
Thank you for the work that you do and the important messages that you bring.
Yeah,
through that work.
You too. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with before we go?
Just if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
That's it, seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, one other little thing. Believe children. If they come and tell you something, don't not believe them. Check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out. So,
yeah. That is very true. Check it out. All right. So, April, you write a Substack. What's it called?
Oh, paperdolls.today.
Okay.
Because it is paper dolls way back then and then what's happening now.
Yeah. And they can find you by your name. How else can people find you and where can they find your book?
The book is at Barnes & Noble, all the online places.
All the places.
Locally here in Utah.
Okay.
I think it's in California too, local bookstores, but you can get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. And I love local bookstores. So if you want a hard copy, just go in there and have them order it.
Yeah, they will. And let's let everyone know. I don't know if people know this or not, but local bookstores are so important and it's harder and harder for them to stay afloat. And so if there's a book that you want, you can go into your local bookstore, tell them that you want it, and they can order it for you and get it in. And you can't get it right away. It's not going to be 2-day prime delivery.
Right.
You can get it relatively soon.
Right.
So it's a great thing to do. Okay. The book again is called Paper Dolls and Cowboy Boots.
Okay.
All right, April. Thank you again so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here today. If this episode spoke to you, hit follow so you never miss an episode, and share it with a friend or someone who might need it. For deeper reflections, weekly essays, and the conversations that don't fit on the podcast, join me on Substack at sarastansberry.substack.com. And remember, you're allowed to begin again. You're allowed to build a life that feels like your own, and you're allowed to live the life you were meant to. I'll see you next time.